haven't talked enough about how much that intro fucks.
Dude,
you know what I'm
it's
talking
so
about?
good. The music is amazing.
Dude, Carter Harrell doing the music, Cameron Kennedy doing the motion graphics. Damn, what a team. What a dream team. What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Gone. We got a Makuga down.
Josh?
Oh, no.
Josh?
Welcome back to Kind of Funnies, The Karate Kid in review. That's right. We are ranking and reviewing every movie in the Karate Kid franchise, the canon one at least, that involves Mr. Miyagi. We're also doing Cobra Kai seasons 1, 2, and 3 when they eventually do come out. Very exciting stuff. You can watch the show live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, or you can watch later on youtube.com/kindoffunny, roosterteeth.com, or search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny Reviews, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like no one did. No one was a Patreon producer, and I don't appreciate that. But you know what?
Let's
it's okay.
Make some up. We'll make some up.
Yeah,
Hi,
go
thanks,
for it.
Billy Magooch from Saskatchewan, Minnesota. Johnny Bagaducci, also from
Billy
Saskatchewan,
McGrath.
Minnesota, and Bill McGrath.
Yeah.
I just want you guys to know,
lead singer of Sugar Ray.
Mark
McGrath.
we have done I think like 100 episodes of In Review, which is crazy. I've hosted hundreds of episodes of Games Cast. Like I've hosted a lot.
You're doing
of
a great job,
podcasts.
Tim. Round of applause for Tim.
No,
Everybody
like,
give it up for him.
Tim's doing great.
I'm not like I messed up so many things there. I flubbed so many words and so many lines, but I went into this like empty vortex in my mind where there was chaos happening on the screen. Makuga got bumped. I just kept talking, and I was realizing that my document was the wrong one in front of me. So I just kind of just went off book, and I think I did an okay job. But anyways, it's crazy muscle memory, you know? Like you just say shit, and I'm just like, I could just start a show and just do the rigmarole, and 90% of it's gonna be right.
Dude,
some of it's gonna be wrong. Who cares?
You could do an episode of P.S. I Love You right now without even fucking thinking about it. I guarantee it.
I thought, Tim, you were gonna say. Turns out we have at least 8 Patreon producers. I thought.
Oh no!
I thought that's what he was gonna say too, Andy. It turns out we still have zero.
Yeah,
Zero with us.
Yeah. But anyways, this is Karate Kid in Review. I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
Hey, guys.
We have, God, it's the pause.
It's
Kevin.
like he doesn't know it's going to happen, but it happens every single time. We go to Kevin first every single time.
It's comedy, guys. Sometimes you have to leave a pause.
It's like finding out that the ice cream you're eating is sugar-free. You're just like, this is so disappointing every single time.
Good Lord. We have the producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
I want you guys to know that I came in costume. And then when I logged into Discord, I saw that none of you are in costume. And instead of turning my camera on, Andy, I just kept it there, left, changed, and I wasn't going to say anything. But then Tim put his headband on, and I'm like, damn it, I should have been in costume.
I just like, I looked down, I'm like, any excuse to wear these gloves and this headband, I might as well. You know, the jacket's a lot. The jacket's hot, and of course, no Johnny Lawrence in this one. So I gotta show.
There is Johnny Lawrence.
Oh, I guess you're right. You are right.
And it wasn't just a cameo. Like poor Elizabeth Shue got that weird like credit for just because they just used her old footage. They reshot. They shot that in that intro.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that stuff. We also have the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Good morning, everybody. This movie, man.
Oh, here we go again.
Oh no,
Andy,
he's got us. He's got us
by the freaking balls, man. And of course, we have the man that broke a stick in the woods with a karate chop when he was 9, Josh Makuga.
Guys, we're in Japan.
We are, Josh.
All right, let's get right into this. The Karate Kid Part 2, released on June 20th, 1986, directed once again by John Alvinson. Budget of $13 million, box office of $115 million, making it among the highest grossing films of 1986 and the highest grossing in the franchise up until the 2010 reboot. A runtime of 1 hour and 53 minutes. And in terms of awards, this was nominated for an Oscar. Peter Cetera's Glory of Love was originally written for Rocky IV, but rejected after it was included in The Karate Kid Part 2. Instead, it earned an Oscar nomination. Josh, before the show started, it was just me, you, and Kev hanging out here, and you would not stop singing this song.
Guys, all right. There are love songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's Peter Cetera's Glory of Love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
this
Get
was
me choked up.
this was a pitch to my wife for her walk down the aisle song, which she promptly said no to. Okay. There isn't a bone in a man's body who has seen this movie and then hears this song and doesn't think about the glory of love.
Yeah.
I mean, it is if you think that The Best Around is a good song from the first movie, you'd be right. Then you get the glory of love in the second movie and you think, who is writing these songs?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I love it because so much of my life, I want to say adult life, just at this point, my life, is Nick making references to things I don't understand. And then at some point in my future, seeing something and being like, oh,
I get it now. Yeah.
I get it now. I like the Mask theme song was one of those things.
A greatest song ever made.
Anything about Highlander. In general.
Tim, but we will never fully understand Small Wonder.
We will never understand.
Thank
Andy,
God, we're
why
better
does Small
for it.
Wonder keep coming up in our lives?
It's
everywhere.
about a robot?
Is
that a robot? Is that right?
Guys,
Robot child.
I'm so fucking sick of
Small
this
Wonder
show.
even goes over my head. And I like to think that, like, if there's somebody that can reference just as much, if not more, than Nick Scarpino from days gone by, it's me. But even Small Wonder and me are like...
Makuga, Small Wonder, it gets brought up at least 6 times annually by Greg and Nick. And every time I forget about it, it gets brought up again. And I still know nothing about it. All I know is that the girl is like a robot or an alien. I don't know what she is, but she's living among human beings. She's a robot. Okay. It just sucks. So.
Yeah,
but
Andy,
Why does she wear a wig? Oh, that's the wrong button. Hold on.
But Nick is has taught me a lot, and this song is definitely one of those things because I have heard you sing bits of this across kind of funny content since the beginning. Can you please hit me off with some of that?
Like a knight in shining armor from a long time ago.
Andy, how many times have you heard that?
So many fucking times, Tim.
And how surprised were you to hear it in this movie?
It was really bizarre because that's happened to me quite a few times with just pop culture in general, right? Like especially with songs nowadays, I don't know what's the top songs anymore, but I'll hear people sing them. And then when I finally hear it played at a bar or something, I'll go, oh, that's the song so-and-so is always fucking singing. This was one of those eye-opening moments where I said, oh my God, this is the thing that Nick has sung, at least over 80 times in the studio.
You guys, but the thing you have to remember is this, like, these things stick with me. And Tim is 100% right. Most of the references I make are obscure and stupid and have no basis in any sort of emotional reality. But this song, and I say this 10% jokingly, Kevin, 90% seriously, might be the greatest power ballad ever fucking made.
I don't think it might be.
I mean, I was leaving room for Bryan Adams and everything I do it for you, which is also great. But this song is better.
I just love how Makuga just amps up Nick and it tells Nick you can be all that you want to be.
Yeah, you can just say it. You can go
Nick is always kind of treading the edge, and Makuga goes, "No, it is," and Nick goes, "You know what? You're right."
Guys, okay, let me tell you a personal story about this song.
Go ahead. I have one afterward as well.
Okay. So at Penn State, when you take Theater 101, your first assignment is you have to get lyrics to a song and you have to just say them like you're talking to somebody in normal conversation. Okay. Now, I, of course, chose Peter Cetera's Glory of Love. And I chose the first 10 lines of the song to talk to a girl. Okay. And I will tell you what, that girl was the teacher. And let me tell you something. 4 months later, I was naked in that teacher's car. Okay. She was 31 years old.
The greatest thing ever.
And it was one of the greatest conquests in the history of Josh Makuga's college professional life.
That's awesome.
At all.
Let me just read you the first
Please
5.
read me the first stanza.
Okay, here you go. Tonight it's very clear.
He had to use stanza. He had to.
We're both lying here.
We're both lying here. There's so many things
I want to say.
Okay.
What is it, Josh?
I will always love you.
I will always fucking love you.
I would never leave you alone.
Why are they both saying it? You know,
It's perfect.
it doesn't need to have both of them.
It does it. It really does it.
It's so good.
And then he doubles down. Are you guys ready for the second
Yeah,
verse?
give me the
Go for it.
second.
Hit me with
Give me the second verse.
Sometimes I just forget. Say things I might regret.
I'm an asshole. I'm a guy.
It breaks my heart to see you crying. I don't want to lose you. I could never make it alone.
Mhm.
Guys, this is genius songwriting. I mean, it's bonkers how good
Literally,
this song is.
you guys have no idea. So driving around all weekend with my wife, and by the way, Dee has said multiple times she cannot listen to The Glory of Love because if she does, it makes her feel like the feels. You know what I mean? Where she's like, I can't listen to it because she'll start tearing up, and I start tearing up, and then I literally flash forward to this weekend, played it 3 times in the car, sang all 3 times. We both cried, both times. I mean, all 3 times. It was amazing.
Karate Kid, man.
What is wrong with you people?
Welcome to the universe, baby. This is karate. So let's go around. I want to start with you, Andy Cortez. You've never seen The Karate Kid Part 2. You don't know where this franchise is going. Last week, you were indoctrinated into this karate world, and you were flabbergasted by how in you were. What are your thoughts on The Karate Kid Part 2?
I mean, it's rough for me because it's hard to follow up the first one.
Great.
And I feel like the first one was so good and so shockingly like really well made and heartfelt. And I just wasn't expecting that. Every time I think 80s, I think cheesy crap, you know? That's just like where my mind goes. My mind goes
Josh,
no. Hold on.
Okay.
Like to me, Fast and Furious is cheesy crap, and I love it.
Okay.
Like I don't think it's just like I thought Karate Kid had so much more substance than I expected, and and it just raised up those expectations, and I shouldn't have thought that because generally sequels aren't as good as the first one, and I found myself thinking that this movie it always feels at odds with what it wants to accomplish, and I feel like you're rooting for you think a fight's gonna happen, but then there's another conflict somewhere else, and then there's a storm, a hurricane out of nowhere, and like it throws
true story. That was a real situation that happened. It was a typhoon. Typhoon Vera.
Really?
That
when
hit
it's on that side of the world, it's a typhoon, not hurricane. You know that?
I didn't know that, Kev. I didn't know that. Science with Kev. Science with Kev. I'm Kevin. He already said the fact, so I guess we don't got to.
That was the outro. Good job.
But anyway, I thought like when this movie ended the way it did, I just wasn't feeling it at all. And the movie does silly ass shit to get to the next story beat and stuff that like is unbelievable and makes no sense. But then when you're in it, the back and forth between Miyagi and LaRusso, I think are as good as they were in part 1. Like they make me smile. They added a little bit more, like even a little bit, tiny bit more levity to a lot of Miyagi's lines. And I thought they were funny. They made me giggle. And I was like, oh, I like this relationship. But to get to the next story beats was always like the most unbelievable shit. That like, we got to figure out something. Yeah, say that. And we'll justify it by saying like, oh, he's getting his passport because he has a next day airplane ticket. We could justify it by throwing that line in there. And we could justify it, but like, no, Daniel LaRusso took savings out of his savings out to buy the plane ticket.
That when he said I got a next day plane ticket, he's like, well, how can you get a next day passport? Because I got a next day plane ticket. He was joking about that.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. I totally missed that.
Yeah, he was being silly. You can get a next day passport if it's an emergency, but he was like, because I have a next day plane ticket.
Well, yeah, but I think don't you have to prove that it's an emergency? And you can't prove that your dad's sick because you don't have.
Guys, this was a fucking karate emergency. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a karate emergency. Yeah,
that's
exactly true. But so much of the story is still like
your dad's dying.
I just feel like so much more of the story is like murder is about to happen, and it feels
Andy,
so outlandish.
Japan's different, man.
It feels like a fantasy world. Like I don't know. Like
it is one of those things when you.
I just didn't like it anywhere as near as part 1. When the movie ended, I was like, that was kind of fucking stupid. Like the whole final fight, I thought was just dumb as shit. But I don't know. I just didn't like it I didn't like it at all, compared to part 1.
But here's the thing.
Makuga, go off, King. What are your thoughts on Karate Kid Part 2?
Well, listen, I can see Kevin wanting to jump at the bit here, but Andy, let me just put you in the place here, okay?
Put me in a karate world, yeah.
Can you read some more lyrics from Glory of Love, please, for Andy?
I will.
He's not in the right mindset.
Please read stanza 3.
Okay. Stanza 3 is the chorus, which is, whew, okay. So, Andy, yes, did we want more Cobra Kai in
100%.
Karate Kid 2? Is the leap point of Karate Kid 1 to go to Japan? No. Yeah. Okay. Now, could have Fast and Furious gone straight to Tokyo Drift? Sure. But instead, we got a couple more movies before Tokyo Drift.
Went to Florida first.
Instead, Karate Kid took the jump. They had a year to write a beautiful script about revenge, love. I mean, the fact that Greg Miller isn't on this episode, they say the word coward about 485 times.
Oh my God, Jesus.
But what you don't realize about the Japanese culture, Andy, is that you hold that grudge forever, okay? And if Miyagi comes back into town, you better be ready to fight, Miyagi, okay? It happened when he was 18, but let me tell you, there's some things that happened when I was 18 I'm still pissed about, okay? Doesn't mean I'm going to fight somebody and murder them, but let's also talk about the fact that the Miyagi dojo is still there. 1600s they came over from China. He was drunk on a boat, whatever, yada, yada, yada. That means that the karate is still alive. So in order for Daniel-san to make that next leap in love and karate, we got to go to Japan. And
so much.
That end fight scene, Andy, that end fight scene in front of the whole town, okay? How else are you going to build on the All Valley than all of Okinawa?
All world.
all of them, yeah. All of them. Yeah, international. We're taking
was
international.
Was it all of Okinawa, or was it just
I don't think
all
so,
of that,
no. But for this
city?
No, I think it was just
Tomi,
like Village.
or whatever. Yeah, there it is.
Or what was left of it.
But there is that moment where the guy's like, remove the bridge, like move the bridge out of the way.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and you're like, but someone could just jump.
Yeah, it's not like it's really shallow water. But there was a moment. There's a moment that purely like kind of summed up my feelings of a lot of this movie, and it's when Daniel is on a date, and homeboy, we'll call him Japanese
Chosen.
Johnny Lawrence.
His name's Chosen.
Andy,
yeah.
show some fucking respect. Do you know who that is?
He looks really familiar.
He's the dad from Johnny Tsunami.
Yes.
Holy fuck! Oh my God!
And let me tell
You just blew my fucking brain.
Yeah.
No joke, dude.
Yeah,
Let me
dude.
tell you
Oh
guys.
my God!
He's Johnny Tsunami's dad.
And then of course, scientist from Jurassic Park is in here as well.
BD Wong. Also, don't and let's not disrespect the guy who played Theo in Die Hard. Is also
Thank
in.
you. Huge
I've
crossover.
never seen the movie.
Theo chopping
Anyway,
up
he
in
was
a GI bar.
A quick scene that just quickly sort of sums up my feelings about this, about a lot of this movie, is where Daniel LaRusso's on a date and then Chosen walks up to him to like fucking pick on him, and Daniel's like, I don't even fucking have a beef. Why are you trying to fight me? And that's so much of my feeling of like, just everybody needs to chill the hell out in this movie, dude. Like, Chosen, why are you so like, you're such a fucking simp for this, your uncle or whatever. Like, just chill out, bro. Like, chill out.
Andy, I'm sorry we didn't all grow up in such chill environments as you, okay?
RGV,
but if
don't
you
mind
were brought up by Master Sato, okay, to hate Miyagi, and whoever Miyagi brings around, you're going to hold the grudge for your uncle and for the next generation of grudge. That's what karate.
Kevin, you also have never seen this movie until now, correct?
I guess not, because I started watching this, so I was like, "Whoa, this is going a different direction." And by the end, I was like, "A death match! All right,
Awesome.
I'm all in." Andy, I don't understand how you're not all in on the death match. And then they trick you. You know, they grab what you're thinking. You're like, "Oh shit, Miyagi-san just gave the will and testament, the final will and testament to Daniel-san." And like he gave him the house, that hits me right here. Where it's like, oh god damn it, he does see him as his kid, you know? This is it. His legacy moves on with him. And then there's a freak storm, and he saves him by chopping the wood in half. What? Oh my god, it's so perfect.
You're dead inside. Kevin is my new best friend.
Wait, and then not only does he save him, relationship fix, no problem. The coward guy that kept calling everyone cowards runs off into the distance, not only to come back, but like to continue his death challenge. And then there's a fight.
Yeah.
I think Kevin needs to do the plot synopsis for this because he's on the right level of hype.
No, and real talk.
Swings in like it's a vacation zip line tour in Hawaii.
And Danny figures it out right
wearing-
before where he's just like, wait a minute.
When we first see the zip lining, my immediate thought was, oh, they must have like left this this employee in the shot of like this guy filming. Like they must have left him because clearly he's not supposed to be this guy. Like when I first saw him swinging in, I thought he was a person on set working for the movie because it looks so bizarre to just have this like dude starting to swing down and then I was like, oh no, they're really gonna do this right here. But I guess they have to because like how can the movie end any other way? Because there hasn't really been much karate at all, so it makes sense. But it's still like this movie kind of went too ridiculous, where the first one was like just a tiny bit ridiculous, but it was still like heartwarming and heartfelt. And I think part 2 just kind of pushed it in ways that I wasn't really wanting it to go.
So I have grown up knowing Karate Kid was supposedly a good movie, and the Karate Kid 2 and 3 were trash. Like that is just kind of like one of those things. Never saw them. Just like that's just the general pop culture zeitgeist understanding of these movies. So I went into it kind of like that. Motherfuckers are so wrong. I agree with you, Andy. 1 is better. 1 is definitely a like good movie that holds up in terms of like telling a story or whatever. But in terms of expanding this universe and making it a franchise, I love the direction this movie went. And of course I do. No one would be surprised. When it starts off and it's just like we're literally at the beginning or at the end of the first movie, and things get ratcheted up so much
fast
between Miyagi and Kreese. I'm just like, what the fuck? And then it's like, okay, we're going to Japan. We're diving into Miyagi's backstory. It is as anime and convoluted as you'd want and expect it to be, of brothers fighting for love and all this stuff. I'm like, let's fucking go. You're introduced to Chosen, who is just like Johnny Lawrence, but in Japan.
Yeah.
And he will kill you. It's not just strike first, strike hard. It's death. We're gonna fight to the death.
How many people do you think he's killed?
That shit. I don't know, but not enough. But as the movie goes on and they teach you these lessons, I do think that it does have heart that the first one does. I think the first one accomplishes it a little bit better. But I enjoyed the idea of balance and the idea of Kimiko being
Her name was Yumiko in another movie I saw on her IMDb profile.
Oh, okay. But her being a dancer and this idea of dance and karate and how different are they and how related are they to love? Like, I love all that stuff. So when we get to the climax of this film and Chosen has ran off and she's doing the dance and it's like, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to end this movie with a dance. Karate isn't all that life's about.
And it would have been a bold move that would have worked.
And I enjoyed
I'm glad they didn't.
I was kind of like, that is a ballsy take for this. And when that motherfucker comes in on a zip line, I lost my shit. I legitimately like stood up out of my seat like, holy shit, these motherfuckers are doing it. And then he tosses the bridge off the thing. And it's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But they know. They must know how dumb it is. But then they fucking fight. And all the looks with Miyagi. I think that it was such a ballsy take, like Makuga was saying, to have this movie be what it is and not just end in another karate tournament. No, it ended in a fucking death fight.
I think what this movie does best is it makes me feel like an adult when it's like, hey, we don't need to fight. And I'm sitting there being like, yeah, you know what? They don't. And they reward me with a fight. You know what I mean?
Have to fight.
I just think about a universe. Where, you know, LaRusso loses it and murders the guy. And what does that look like for the future?
Instead of bumping his nose, he's just like,
you're wanted for murder now. Like there are people looking for you, LaRusso. You killed that man. You fucking chopped his head in half in front of a lot of families. And everybody's really scared of you.
No, like, I feel like the Japanese would be cool. They'd help hide the body.
You think Japanese police would be like, you know what? It was honor, though, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone saw him try to kill his girl, knock her out with a punch.
He tried to. He challenged him to the death match.
Yeah.
It wasn't like LaRusso voluntarily was like, I'm going to rip your heart out with my hand because you're here. He put a knife to his throat. Okay. Chosen dressed as some Black Knight ninja. Okay.
Looked cool. That was a really cool outfit. Looked like Scorpion.
He was dressed as the Cobra Kai final form. It was the same cut as their gis, but it
Yes.
was like, and the same colors, by the way. It was still yellow and black, but it was the opposite. It was like mostly yellow with like hints of black. I thought it was a cool little production.
Yeah,
design of it.
Tim, I totally see where you're going when you mentioned that this franchise really reminds you of Fast and Furious. Because in part 3, I'm to karate chop a submarine. Like
Hey, honestly,
with
no
nuclear
future spoilers,
warheads,
guys.
and the president of the leader of Interpol is an international assassin actually, and he's coming after Miyagi, and Miyagi has to defend his that's what I'm
Andy,
seeing now. That's what I'm seeing this going.
As soon as I finished this movie, I was like, I'm gonna wait to watch the third one, but I need to read the the strap line just to know what it's about. And boy, am I pleased with that, the 2-sentence description
Don't
of what's
spoil
happening.
it.
No, I'm not spoiling anything.
Spoilers.
I'm not spoiling anything.
Tim, I'm torn on this movie because I love all the parts of this movie that aren't about the karate, and I'm kind of with Andy on this, where like it amps up to such a ridiculous degree that you're like, this is not feudal Japan, right? This is Japan in 1980s, where
But
you
it's
can't
a
just
small village, Nick. It's a small
Yes,
village.
but it's also a small village behind a massive military base, which for some reason they make a big point in setting up in the first and like the second act.
It was so that everyone spoke English.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that was unnecessary because they were like, we don't, they go to the base, like, Tommy Village, we don't know where the hell that is. And then they were like,
it's right there.
It's right there.
It's
behind the base.
It's just right there.
But what I'll say is I love, when I was a kid, I didn't like this movie because I was like, no, I want him to go back to the tournament and like compete again. That was to me what Karate Kid was about. And I also found the movie a little at odds with itself, which I still do, because I think a lot of the ridiculous action that they make Daniel LaRusso go through isn't necessarily backed up in it's not rooted in the reality of the first Karate Kid. And I know that one was completely ridiculous too, but in that world he was being bullied. He didn't go to the cops because he was being bullied, and he wanted to handle it himself because he knew that if he didn't want other people coming in to solve his problem. But in this one, people are legitimately threatening death. And they're breaking the law. And the writer, I think, got a little lazy toward the end where they're like, well, we'll just explain everything away with honor and this and that. But I'm pretty sure if you grab a random person who has nothing to do with your feud and hold a knife to her throat, the entire village is not going to think you're honorable. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know this. I'm speculating. But I think even in Japan in the 80s, someone would have been like, that's not cool. That's dishonorable. And also, if you have an issue with someone destroying their house, definitely dishonorable, by the way. It doesn't matter how much they've dishonored you. You can't go to their house and like rip up their shit. So I always thought that was kind of weird. Tim Gettys from Kind of Fun.
Just a counterpoint to that. In the first movie, this very, very young high school boy ends up hanging out with a very, very old man. And then in this movie, the old man's like, I'm going to Japan. And then the young man's like, I'm going with you. Like,
cool.
that's the reality that we're in here. So,
yeah. That immediately sets up the world. That immediately sort of sets up the ridiculous nature of this movie, where they early on when they're trying to convince you that this stuff is sort of normal, they the writers do this thing where they try to rationalize it so that the viewer goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. But then like that's quickly kind of thrown out. And I got to accept that. Like I'm assuming this is where the franchise is going. But as long as again, I still love a lot of the dialogue in this movie. I still love Miyagi and Daniel-san just kind of like being cool and just like adventuring together.
And to me, that's the heart of this.
Yeah.
I love watching Daniel go to Japan. I like seeing him that fish out of water. And they do, I think, a really good job of just being like, hey, you're seeing this cool, amazing, like unique country through his eyes, and he gets shown around by Mr. Miyagi, gets shown around by Kumiko, and like they go to that like the little downtown area, which is super cool. And when I was a kid, I just always thought that was so rad. I'm like, this is the thing that's more interesting to me. But even young watching this, I'm like, this guy Chosen just seems like he's just this weird comic book villain. Whereas Johnny had somewhat motivations. He was a dumb kid. He was an asshole teenager. His mentor is a shithead, and his girlfriend broke up with him. And so you're like, granted, he's an absurd 80s villain stereotype, but you kind of understand that Chosen's just a dick for no reason. They're just like, it's basically the difference between Rocky 1 and Rocky 4, where by the time we get to Rocky 4, Sylvester Stallone's fucking saving the world with his boxing gloves. And in the first one, it was just this nice little story about a guy trying to prove he wasn't a bum.
Yeah,
Well,
but
no,
Nick, he's
against
not
the world champion, and he was just some like loser boxer. Like, there's slow
Right, but
down.
if you-
Rocky
what I'm
Four is a
saying
great
is-
movie.
No, Rocky 4 is a great movie, but
Thank you.
what I'm
They're
saying
all
is
great, except
there's a
5.
difference between Rocky 1, where it's like an actual tale, where we're trying to tell like a human tale with a character arc, and then you get to Rocky 4, and it's just like, this is a comic book movie. And that's where we slightly dip into with Karate Kid 2, where you're like, it's not believable that in this world, this guy has so much power over this village, whereas someone in the military, someone can't just watch the military base and go, this guy's trying to kill everyone. Can you guys get the authorities? Someone radio the fucking authorities and have them come arrest Sato because he's clearly fucking threatening people's lives.
and he's like a
Andy, kinda
mob
funny.
boss.
I will say, like, the most ridiculous things about part 1 were, obviously Kreese and his behavior, right? That's the stuff that kind of stood out to me, is like, this is where the movie becomes a movie for me. And it kind of, that's where the 80s cheesy villain comes out, where Kreese is literally threatening to put out a hit on
Right.
LaRusso and Miyagi, and saying, like, if you don't show up, it's him and then you're next. That shit was kind of ridiculous to me. But, like, that's whatever. That, it's an 80s villain. That's how things go. But when I knew that this movie was kind of going to be way more over the top, is immediately Chosen squeezing the shit out of his hand in the handshake, and I'm like, what the hell is this about? And then then Chosen's character is that ridiculous the whole way through. Like,
it really is just that one character, because like the Sato character like starts off as sort of like the stereotypical 80s villain mob boss, right? But by the end they have that nice turnaround where he's like, oh crap, dude, I've been holding this grudge for way too long and I need to let this go, and I've dishonored you by doing that. And I love that turn where he saves him, and then he's like, damn, I totally saw the whole thing wrong. I've been hurt this entire time. I love they were best friends. I love that Miyagi's dad, like, he talked his dad into training Sato as well, because they were like brothers. I think that whole thing's cool. And when that comes to fruition at the end, I'm like, this is really, really cool. It's just unfortunate they couldn't find a better way for Chosen not to be so one-dimensional. But he does at some point take his shirt off, Andy.
Were they born in labs? Now it's time to rank those abs.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Rank Those Abs. You have to imagine when they cast this gentleman to play this role that something accidentally tore his shirt off, and the casting director was like, no matter what happens, Tim, we have to write a scene where someone throws a tomato at his shirt and he just takes it off for no reason and gives it to her, because he's so
That is such a good move.
Like, shout out to that guy. His pecs are huge.
And here's the thing: is like, usually we talk about the unearned buffness of skinny people. Okay, Tom Holland, Makuga. When we did MCU in review, Tom Holland, obviously very fit guy, very athletic, very shredded, but Nick docked points because Nick said, well, Tom Holland's already skinny and it takes less effort to be buff when you're skinny, or to look buff when you're skinny, because you just you got to work out a little bit and then your muscles start to pop through the layers.
Hold on. Andy, I hate this. I just hate that we're in a world where you're saying this and all Makuga says is, he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But here's the thing. Here's why I give Chosen so many points. Is I've seen a lot of like shredded, ripped, skinny people with tiny pecs. This guy has fucking bulbous, fucking little
they were almost 2 months. They were almost 2 months.
They're great. I love them. I love them.
Dude is Brad Pitt in Fight Club ripped at this point.
Yeah.
Like, he's all kinds of jacked up. I mean, yeah, skinny dudes have it way easier because, Italian guys like Nick and myself, we were born beefy and we tried to slim down, but our bodies will never slim to the arena of a Chosen or a Tom Holland, things of that nature. We're just not built like that. Genetically, we are not built like that.
We're built different. Yeah, we're built different.
We are. But taking nothing away from the fact that Chosen probably walked into the casting office with no shirt on. And it was just like, I'm Chosen, cast me.
Yeah.
Because the dude is jacked, and you may call him one-dimensional, but don't tell me that by the end of the movie, you're not tired of Chosen's antics, because he's always pissed, and you want Daniel-san to kick his ass. I don't mind the one-dimensional nature of Chosen, especially when he swings into the thing. He's like, yeah, okay, was him trashing stuff dishonorable? All that kind of stuff is. Yes, but when the uncle who he's been all pissed off for the whole movie, he's like, you're dead to me. He's like, oh, well, then I'm going to kill somebody and really be dead to everybody. And boom, shakalaka, that's what happens.
I love, and then he's Johnny Tsunabe's dad. Before we go on, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The holidays are here, and have you made your wish list yet? Our sponsor today has the #1 wish for gift of the year. Manscaped. That's a fact. They did the research. It's the best in men's below and above the belt grooming. Manscaped is here to ensure you're taking care of your manhood and your nose hairs with their new performance package. Makuga, you love Manscaped, right?
Oh, guys, come on. As hairy as I am, it's really saved my life and marriage, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there you go, man. Look, guys, and 79% of partners polled admitted that long nose hair is a major turnoff. Right now, I don't see a hair in Makuga's nose holes.
No.
Yeah, it's looking good. Looking good. Let's not forget their famous liquid formulations, the Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant, and Crop Reviver Ball Toner to maximize your ball hygiene routine. The performance package is the best value that Manscaped has to offer. It's hot off the shelves. You can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/morning. Thank you, Manscaped, for making our holes look sexy. You can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/morning. There you go, guys.
Man, even that one was-
Manscaped.com/morning.
That one got me.
Yeah.
What was it? Making our holes pretty? What was
You know
it?
what I've noticed on
Yeah.
the Manscaped reads on Dan Le Batard's show, very G-rated because it's Disney. So
Yeah.
I love that Manscaped knows, oh, these guys are filthy. Let's give him like a really silly
Yeah,
ad read, and it's like, hell yeah, dude, they know.
Hell
it.
yeah,
Tim
dude.
crushes.
Yeah, and guys, I'm not going to do the ad read here, but you should go check out Kind of Funny Games Daily today, where we were sponsored by the Trojan Tantric Pleasure Sleeve.
Yep.
Oh,
Hearing Blessing talk about masturbation was choice.
that sounds awesome.
I'll hook
So
you
we're
up
not
with one too, Eddie.
Trojan got away from the condom business because nobody can really have sex anymore based solely on a pandemic. So they're just making jerk off sleeves.
There you go.
Nice.
They understand there's a
Dude,
audience
that's
for it.
awesome. I'm in.
Smart. Genius.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. Anyways, it's time for the plot.
It is time for the plot. Tell us all about Miyagi and Daniel-san.
Oh, that
That's
was really
pretty
good.
Guy's got a
Like a
voice.
knight in shining armor from a
From a
long time ago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the reality and the world of Karate Kid Part 2, the movie that brought us the greatest power ballad ever made. Hey, kids, did you see Karate Kid Part 1? Well, guess what? You don't have to. We're going to start this movie off with a very long, very weirdly paced recap of the first movie.
So weird.
That ends outside in a parking lot where Daniel's signing autographs while Kreese is straight up committing assault on Johnny for getting second place. So what does Mr. Miyagi do? Now this is unfortunate that Tim stepped away because I want Kevin, you'll appreciate this.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Kevin, how old were you when you saw Attack of the Clones?
12, I think. It came out
12.
in 2002, is that right? Let me double
Do you
check.
remember how everyone went in there and they were like, man, I really like from the first movie, I was like, we got to get a fight between Yoda and Count Dooku. And they made us wait 2 movies for that. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
The producers and director of Karate Kid Part 2 were like, we're going to give you the fight you want to fucking see right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's Miyagi versus Kreese. And wow, Kreese cannot punch for shit. He cannot
sucks.
aim his punches for shit.
I love that he was like, all right, he dodged, he punches through a window. He's gonna dodge again. Is he get another window? He does. How many fucking
Yeah.
car windows is he gonna break?
So many cars.
I was
Kevin,
ready
I
for
was
you
like-
more.
And you know that like 2 families came out. They're like, that old Valley tournament was our windows are out of our cars.
Why are they bloody? Why are our windows bloody?
Yeah, Josh. There's that family's like, this man is punching every window. He won't stop punching these windows.
Our cars.
But before it was about to happen the second time, Kevin, I thought they're not going to do this a second time. will they?"
See, I was the total opposite. I was like, how many are they gonna do? I was disappointed it was just 2. I was disappointed it was just 2.
At one
of course,
point, you just figure it's going to be a Family Guy sketch where Martin Cove just starts punching all the windshield back.
There's a movie called Django Unchained, right? And what do people remember the most from Django Unchained that Leonardo DiCaprio did? If you need the
Oh,
amount
he
of help
cut his
for it.
hand. He cut his hand on the skull.
And they just used that take. There was real blood. Guess what, motherfuckers? According to Martin Cove, the blood on his hands when he broke the windows was real, and it was an accident on set. The footage was left in the final cut.
Whoa.
Get this man an Oscar.
Get him an
Hell
Oscar.
yeah, dude.
Get him an Oscar. Bring him back for Cobra Kai. Of course, Miyagi gets the better of Kreese, and when he's about to go give him the death strike, instead of doing that, he honks his nose, and then they walk away. And then I'm pretty sure doing that,
What a
that's
fucking
just
embarrassing thing to do to this guy. You know what I
but
mean?
also-
Like,
ensures that this guy will hate you for fucking ever.
But also, Kreese is supposed to be literally like he's got Vietnamese soldiers' heads in his freezer, kind of a dude. He's beating up teenagers, strike first, no mercy. When Miyagi has the death chop ready to go, Martin Kobe's acting, John Kreese's acting there is brutally bad because he's like,
You don't understand. His hands were disabled. Like he couldn't fight anymore.
Well, what it reminded me of is it really reminded me of Ric Flair backing away from an enemy in the ring and doing that's what it reminded me of.
Of course, Daniel then asks him. He says, "You could have killed Kreese just then, right?" And Miyagi's like, "Yep." And he goes, "Why didn't you kill him?" And he says, "Quote: A person with no forgiveness in his heart lives with an even worse punishment than death."
What
And
the hell?
But like, no,
it's super illegal. It's super illegal to murder someone in the parking lot.
Also, lots of witnesses. Lots of witnesses.
Yeah. I'm getting an echo, by the way, on my end.
yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure who that's coming
Makuga's.
through.
It's coming from
Makug,
Makuga.
can you decrease your volume or throw
Just a
some
little bit.
headphones on,
Just
big
give
guy?
a little bit. Just.
oh, wait, I didn't have headphones on.
Yeah, put your headphones on, big dog.
He had him last
Okay.
time.
I did.
Perfect.
That's my bad.
We're gonna keep going on this. Of course, it's 6 months later, and Daniel comes back from the prom, and guess what? Allie has wrecked his car, but more importantly, she has wrecked his heart. She's gonna go.
Sick tux, by the way. Sick tux.
Oh, it was great. It's the
Yeah,
Dumb
it's
and
dope,
Dumber
too.
tux, or at least half of it. He's distraught on that, but he's not nearly as distraught as the fact that he has to go live in Fresno for 2 months during the summer break.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he doesn't seem too worried about Allie or the fact that he's just destroyed this vintage car, but Fresno is the straw that broke the camel's back, Tim.
Have you
Oh,
ever
no,
been to Fresno?
Oh, I've
Fresno
been to
sucks.
Fresno.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. I get it. As soon as he said that, I was like, "Oh, geez, that is the worst thing to happen to you."
This is a bad month. This is a bad month. No
So,
disrespect. I
Allie-
love your Fresno.
Allie Mills was written out of the sequel due to future Oscar nominee Elizabeth Shue's plans to head to Harvard. What's lesser known is that the producers originally planned to shoot a short scene where Allie breaks up with Daniel, but they later decided to just do it with
Not
dialogue,
necessary.
get him to Japan.
Turns out, let's see. Oh, that's right. So Miyagi, of course, decides to teach him a lesson by bringing him outside to teach him how to focus and hammer nails. And I like this because it plays into the end. He's like, "You got to breathe, focus." And he's like, He's like, "Oh, Mr. Miyagi, I'm too distraught to breathe and hit nails into some wood. You have to teach me." And he goes, "Okay, we'll just breathe."
Why
for
did
a
he
second."
just
He's
turn
like,
into
"Wow,
what's his face?
It's better,
Walking.
Mr. Miyagi. I can do it now."
And Arnold, like,
Hey guys,
I don't, like there's 3 different celebrities you're doing, and not one of them is
no, yeah, none of those right.
Not one of them is
I-
that.
I
It
love
really
this.
does remind me of the South Park John Travolta episode, the Scientology Travolta episode, where he's like, "Oh my God, wow!" Like,
That's how John Travolta sounds, guys.
Yeah.
As you know, I cannot do a Ralph Macchio. The closest thing I can do is John Travolta.
it's just new. It's hey ma, we're doing karate, ma. Hey ma, like it's just like
I mean,
it's
That
not
wasn't
that
very
hard.
good, Andy. If I'm being honest with you, I'm sorry.
Andy, why don't you bring up one of your cool little overlays and put your mouth through someone else's mouth, and we'll talk for a while.
Hey ma, we're doing karate, ma. It's just New Jersey. Hey, it's just that.
I mean, Tim, how much more of this are you going to let me do before we say let's move on? Anyway, I'm just saying. Let's go. It turns out Daniel is building he's not just building a structure, he's building a guest room, and he's building it for himself because Mr. Miyagi has reached out to Daniel's mom and asked if he can stay with him for the summer. Which is, I think, very endearing. He's like, "You've been
Yeah, I
building
love that
that for
scene.
yourself." And he's like, "Shit, man, I would have fucking focused a lot more because Kevin, if I knew I was building my own room, I would have been like, I'll put 1 or 2 more nails in that motherfucker."
Yeah.
Before it falls down.
But also, do you know how hard it is to actually put one strike nail with a hammer?
It's real
Pretty
tough.
tough.
No, because I
The
use
fact that he
screws.
does that, whoo, I mean, he's going next level karate. He's ready for Japan.
Of course. But Tim, their plans for a cruel summer are interrupted when Miyagi gets a
I
letter
love you.
from Okinawa saying that his father is sick. Just FYI, guys, if my father is ever sick, please pick up the phone. It's 1980s. Do not send me a fucking letter from the small village and hope to God it gets to me before my father dies.
Nick, did
That
you
shit
see
probably
a
took
phone
3
in the
weeks.
village? No, you didn't. There was probably one
Again.
on the army base 2 inches away, but not in the actual village.
That's fair. That's fair. The next day they go to get a passport. Miss Miyagi tells him why he left Okinawa in the first place is because the love of his life married his best friend due to an arranged marriage. Miyagi went against the grain and told the whole village he was going to marry Yukie anyway. But Saito was like, he's like, "You dishonored me, and I'm challenging you to fight to the death." But instead of beating his friend's ass, he left Okinawa forever. And he said, "Quote: Never put passion before principle. Even if you win, you lose." which I
Now,
thought was really
as a
cool.
point of reference, I would also like to point out that what we mentioned in the Karate Kid review that you can check out from last week, okay, was that one of the most powerful scenes, and the scene that probably got Pat Morita an Oscar nomination, was his drunk on sake scene where he's crying about his wife and child who died in childbirth. Now, we're not supposed to believe that that was the woman that he left in Japan. It was another woman that he met in America like
Yeah.
a year later that was in the love of his life.
A lot of fish in the sea, Josh. A lot of fish in the sea.
Okay.
He's
Or,
lived a long life, yeah.
And let's be honest, Mr. Miyagi balling out, dude. That pad of his, you walk into that, you're like, I see myself staying here for the rest of my life. Of course, on the excuse me, I messed up. Oh,
And
he goes,
also that fucking mailman wouldn't shut the goddamn shit up. Like,
oh, yeah,
shut
the guy's
up,
like,
mailman.
"Yeah, this is a great house. Maybe I'll bring my wife back." And Mr.
Yeah.
Miyagi's like, "Hey, motherfucker, boundaries. You're a mail
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you know where
also-
I live. That's creepy."
Yeah, get out of here.
So he tells him that lesson about principle, and then he says also Saito's probably pissed off at me. So bring your headband, homie, because we're going to Japan. Of course, Daniel surprises him the next day at the airport with a plane ticket, and he's like, "Hey, Mr. Miyagi, who needs college when we can go party in Okinawa?" It's great, Mr. Miyagi. And he's like, "Wait a minute. You didn't show up at my house this morning and you broke my heart. And then you showed up here as a surprise, which I get. But instead of going to my house, you went to the fucking bookstore and you bought a book on Okinawa. Why don't you just, I don't understand it." Anyway, he says, "Yeah, it'd be fun."
He was probably getting a
And if you guys
passport.
notice, a really great part in mess up in continuity is that when Miyagi leaves in the cab, Daniel's son's apartment that he was building is no longer in front of the house.
Was it in front of the
Fair
house?
enough.
Or that was behind the house?
No,
It's
the
around
mailman comes to the front of the house and he was building it on like that green part of the house. Gone.
Of course,
Did
on
you
the
see
plane, we
that?
get a
Am
little.
I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Kev. You
I
can
thought
call
it was
me
in the
out
back
on
of the house, which
Okay.
was weird. The mailman was coming to the back of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah.
Mailman.
that's also why I thought the mailman was like, this fucking place is pretty cool. I needed you to sign this, so I walked around.
Kevin, I expected them to like walk inside and talk about this more, and the mailman to be in the kitchen, like, "Hey, it's a nice kitchen." Like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Get out of here, man."
The mailman, they're
Andy, do you
friends with the
think there's a whole
mailman.
other movie where
I was
the
about to
mailman
say, Nick.
realizes they went to Japan and he just stays in the house?
Hey, how long are you
mailman
guys gonna be in Japan, by the way?
Freddy's dad.
My
Because
wife
you
would
know,
love
because
to
by the
house
way,
sit for you.
because by the way, I read the letter. It sounds bad. I'm sorry for your dad.
Oh my god!
Hey, Andy, I don't know if you know this though, that the actor who played Freddy Fernandez was the original choice for the mailman, but they didn't use him.
Freddy's gone on to have a very good career with the United States Postal Service. On the plane, Daniel asks, he's like, "I can't find this village. All I see is this military base." And Miyagi's like, "Dude, I'm just trying to fucking sleep." And then Daniel asks him, "Hey, how come your dad taught Saito your family karate?" And he was like, "Well, we were homies back in the day, and I asked my dad to make an exception." And he's like, "But now we have to fight to the death." They get to the airport, and the first thing they see, they get out, and there's just a poster of Sato breaking a fucking tree in half. And I think to myself, what does this guy do for a living? Because I thought he was in real estate, but apparently he also runs a very successful chain of karate dojos that are historic or like very popular in Okinawa. They get outside, and of course they're met by Chosen Taguchi and the rest of his buddies, and we're like, "Oh, this guy seems like a pretty cool guy," until he just for no reason gives Daniel the real long flex heart like handshake that Andy was talking about earlier. And I'd be like, "Bro, I brought my fucking headband. We can bang this out right now, now."
Are any of you guys in here Catholic? Besides,
Yeah.
I know Scarpino probably is. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know when you'd go to church, like you guys have brothers. When you went to church and did the sign of the peace,
yeah,
you
give the
always
peace.
gave your brother like the chosen.
Oh,
death
dude,
grip,
it
and
was
like,
yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go
It was a test of strength for sure every single
Yeah.
time.
every time.
And I lost every time until I hit 16 and I got bigger than my brother. They, of course, Chosen and his gangs bring Miyagi and Daniel to Sato instead of taking him to the village. And it turns out Chosen is the nephew. And then Sato is just straight gangster, man. Comes out in that Armani suit with those big ass glasses, like he's straight out of Beverly Hills Cop 2. And if you're wondering if he's still holding a grudge, motherfucker, he is. He says, "You see your father, then you see me." And it's scary. And then Daniel's like, "Hey, Mr. Miyagi, what are we gonna do?" And he goes,
Oh my
"We're
god.
gonna look for a taxi." And I was like, "Good job, man."
Like just this whole lead up, and then including meeting the brother, I'm immediately just hit with, "Oh, this is a bad sequel right here." Like this is just, we are in bad sequel territory because they're throwing shit at us that I just wasn't expecting. And luckily
so
it
different.
never stayed that bad. But when the movie is throwing this shit at you when none of the rest of the, I guess part one, I want to say none of the rest of the franchise has really been about this sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just like, oh, this is like, we don't know what to do, so we're just writing a sequel to write a sequel. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
think
immediately hit with.
I can see how
And-
you would see that. I do think the movie has a lot of redeemable qualities that take
Oh,
it
for
from
sure.
being bad. But yeah, this is one of those where I'm like, wow, okay, well, we're setting the stakes really high here. A death match. I
Fuck
guess
yeah.
that's what you got to do.
I was so in.
Um,
I thought on their drive over and he's explaining, like, well, you don't. My dad only like taught me this, or like people in his family, the fighting thing. And I was like, oh shit, is the dude his brother? And he just neglected to say that. And they're like, oh no. He made an exception. I was like, all right. And then to find out that he had the school, I was like, this motherfucker went and taught other people his technique. Not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it did.
When I guess like it, you know, with part one, everything felt like very. I guess I'll explain this in MCU terms. In part one, felt friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then part two, when they're on the way, and then Miyagi's like, "Why are we going north? We're supposed to be going south," and they're like, "Things are different now, old man." I'm like, "What the fuck is
Not
going on?" right now?"
everything.
Let's go.
Of course, they get to the village, and Daniels was like, "Hey, I told you, man, the village is not here." And when they get there, they encounter what he says is a military base, which actually just looks like a basketball court that's been converted to a military base with a helicopter.
With a
And
helicopter.
nobody seems to know where Tommy Village is, despite literally you can look through the fence and see the fucking village right there. It's like right there, guys. I can
You
figure it out. I've
literally
never even been to
drive
Okinawa.
around the backside of a helicopter pad, and the whole village is just looking at them like, "We're Toomey Village." I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
not hard, guys.
There's
This
a
is us.
weird fact for you guys about this. There wasn't a helicopter pad when they were first talking about this, when they wrote the script and stuff. That was added to the movie of just having a helicopter. It was added because a producer, Jerry Weintraub of this movie, knew George H.W. Bush, then
Cool.
the vice president of the United States, and invited him to the set. The production built a helicopter pad at the last minute for his Black Hawk.
That's
Whoa.
No way.
so dope. That's
What the
dope.
For
fuck?
Marine too?
Taxpayers, baby. Taxpayers, baby.
No, that was done by the production. I mean,
They
taxpayer
did.
paid for the Marine too. To
Oh,
fly
they got a
that.
rebate there somewhere, man. Oh, either that or they were like this: if we invite him, we can film it, and that'll be the helicopter, and we won't have to. Rent it.
And then the director said later that while Bush was a very nice guy, he certainly never voted for him and his policies in 1988 or 1992.
Well, that's a good distinction to make, guys. Of course, when they finally arrive in the village, they're greeted by Kumiko and shown to where Yukie is tending to his father on his deathbed. Yuki tells him she's known where he was. He was like, how did you know where I was? She goes, well, I've known where you are for a long time. And he said, well, why did you never write to me? She says, out of respect for your silence. And then he's like, well, your husband's kind of a dick. And she goes, oh, I never married. And it's very, very touching scene. And if you make fun of it, I'll have Kevin chop you down like Saito chopped down those trees in that fucking airport poster. Kevin, please dole out street justice as you see fit for the rest of this podcast.
Street
Thank you.
justice.
That's right. The next day, Miyagi shows Daniel around his family dojo and tells him the secret of his family karate, which is in the drum toy. And also, there's two rules. Rule number one, everyone, karate is for defense only. Rule number two, first learn rule number one. Rule number
Whoa.
three, Josh, the blue otter pop
Don't
is
fuck with
always
me.
the best otter pop. They roll around town, and Miyagi tells Daniel that Sato owns pretty much everything, and he's like the village. This is where we get a lot of setup of like Sato just owns everything. He owns the castle. He owns this. He owns all the land. The village is just renting this land from him. He's like the landlord. and
Sato
then-
is basically what Hans Gruber is looking for out of the Nakatomi Corporation. Sato is the Nakatomi Corporation of Okinawa at this point.
exactly.
He's driving around. Like, we don't even know. The only thing that he's actually threatened, because I guarantee you the casting choice of the mob boss, who was also the mob boss in every single Japanese game that ever came out on Nintendo, from Double Dragon all the way up to like Grand Theft Auto Chinatown, right? Was that guy, was Sato. Okay, you mentioned Lethal Weapon 2. We could definitely go Rush Hour. They're all just angry like that dude. He never threw a punch. He only threatened the punch, because I guarantee you that guy does not know karate.
Well, here's
Uh,
the thing. Chosen is the only person, and this is semi-future spoilers, but I think it's okay. In the entire franchise, he's the only person to get a strike on Miyagi.
Really?
And it's with
That's
a
cool.
spear,
Boom.
Yeah.
but
That's why you have
but
to take it
still.
down.
but still.
That's
Wow.
cool as ice. Of course,
Hey, man, if God can bleed, dude.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah.
As they roll through town, of course, Sato rolls up one more time and issues a challenge, and he's like, "You're gonna fight me right here and like right now." And Miyagi's like, "No, I'm not gonna fight you." So Sato's like, "Fine," and he squares off with him with, I have to imagine, Josh, is a fucking death strike. He just goes, and he's about to just punch through Miyagi's chest. But then, of course, they're interrupted with news that Miyagi's father is dying. They're both brought there. They're both summoned by Yuki to go and be with the father, who tries to unite their hands and mend that old wound. But Sato is not hearing about it. He's like, "Your father's dead. I'm going to give you 3 days to mourn." I don't know how he came up with 3, but that is the number. Possibly the writers were like, "We can develop a story in this time. And then I'm fucking coming back for your head."
At dawn, on
Be
the
warned.
on the third day, lock est. It's basically
Wasn't it at midnight? It was at midnight, right?
It was.
Which is even cooler.
Yeah.
which is even cooler. Like on midnight, you doucher.
Which is really nice because he gets the full 24 hours of the day, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
And then some, probably. Kevin, also, I have a note here. Can we look up if it's legal to challenge someone to fight to the death in Japan still? Because if so,
I'm gonna look
Andy,
up all
let's go to
countries where we can
Japan.
do that.
Listen,
Nick, there's a part where they were about to walk into the house and Miyagi goes, "Take off your shoes." And I immediately thought of you.
Take off your shoe, lie on your back. And we're going to Japan. It's legal to kill each other there. Daniel consoles Miyagi by showing a very touching story of his father's death. And then the next day they head to
which
the
again,
cannery.
remember we brought it up in the first one. We're like, what happened to his dad? His dad's not a deadbeat. His dad actually died. Something that could have been brought to our attention in the first movie.
Didn't
Sorry.
because Miyagi is a perfect father figure. And
That
I like
was
to think of him as my dad.
Very touching scene, man. Very
Very,
touching
very
scene.
touching.
And you know what's funny is as I'm watching that scene, I thought to myself, you know who's really going to enjoy this acting? Andy Cortez. He's
My
gonna
gosh,
really
like
enjoy it.
the
Matthew-
teary-eyed Makuga with Miyagi sitting there and trying to hold back tears because he wants to. I mean, it's like it's the typical, you know, I am the father figure, and you see the father figure crying, and you're not used to that, and that shit hurt, man. I was tearing up with Miyagi too. Great job, Pat Morita.
The next day, they head to the cannery to do a little bit more training and learn the most important lesson of all. The best way to avoid a punch is not to be there. Enter the drum technique, which you can only learn by apparently avoiding giant swinging spikes on ropes. There's no other way to learn this, Tim. So if you want to learn karate, we got to go out to the docks and start throwing spikes at each other.
Tim already knows this. I don't even need to tell him this. Nick, Kevin, Andy they know this. You need to be reminded. When you need to learn something, you are thrown into the fire. What is the fire? It's a large swinging hook off an old retired cannery in a fishing village that just does gardening now. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you. Of course, Daniel's like, I want to try it. So Miss Miyagi puts a giant cork on it, and it ends up with Daniel wussing out and jumping into the water instead of trying to avoid it. He tries it one more time, and it rips a hole. He tries it with a real spike this time, and it rips his shirt. When he asks Mr. Miyagi, he was like, "Hey, man, is there a counter punch to this technique?" Mr. Miyagi,
No, Nick, you said that wrong. Hey, Mr. Miyagi, is there a counter punch?
He's like, "Oh my gosh, golly gee, Mr. Miyagi, the shirt's ripped." And Miyagi's like, "Yeah, that same thing happened to me, man." He goes, "No, but you don't understand. I only brought 2 shirts. I don't know where I'm gonna get the other shirt from." And then he goes, "Hey, Mr. Miyagi, is there like a counter strike or some sort of other strike in this technique?" And Miyagi's like, "Why don't you ask the drum?" And he's like, "Because I'm asking you, Mr. Miyagi. The drum's not going to talk back to me. I don't know. It's an inanimate object. It's a kid's toy, Mr. Miyagi. 3 weeks, 5 weeks. I don't know how many weeks."
He's mixing up Miyagi and Miyagi quite a bit.
Well, he'll get it right eventually. I thought that was cool. It was like, ask the drum. Of course, there's a counter strike, bro. There's always a counter strike. Daniel helps Ichiro with some vegetables, and in doing so, exposes fraud on what I have to imagine is a mass level, which pisses Chosen off. But again, I don't purport to know a lot about the Japanese culture, but I do know that if you're defrauding people in a small village with fake weights, that is not honorable. I think. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that would be dishonorable to the point where you'd have to leave.
Is that Chosen is clearly starting his career towards Yakuza.
Sure.
Okay.
And
They're defrauding the people. Yakuza run the government. Yakuza run everything. They're like the QAnon of Japan. Okay. And they got their hands in everything. They're frauding people out of vegetables. Yakuza. Chosen.
Yakuza. Yeah.
Forget everything you know.
It's true. We get later that night. We get another touching scene between Yukie and Miyagi, who are falling back in love. And she tells him his father thought what he did was right. He said, "Your father thought it was right that you left." And Miyagi adds, "Except for one thing, I should have taken you with me." And it's very, very touching. Kumiko spots Daniel playing with his drum like he's fucking high on Molly. So she shows him the Oban dance, so he'll stop making a fool out of himself in front of all the local kids who
Those
have,
local kids are adorable.
at this point 100% started making fun of him behind his back. At this point, this guy is just like the dumb shit American who doesn't
Fucking
give a
guy
shit,
Jin.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Chosen finds them again and interrupts with his buddies and kicks
Why
Daniel
is he
so hard in the
always
stomach.
there?
He's just everywhere, dude. He kicks Daniel so hard in the stomach, his kids feel it. No future spoilers. When they get back, they spot UK and Miyagi doing a tea ceremony, which means they're of course falling back in love. Andy, let's drink some tea. Let's go. Let's mend fences. Then Kumiko takes Daniel sightseeing so they can listen to the greatest power ballad ever made, Peter Cetera's Glory of Love. And I want to tell you guys, they wrote the song. They were like, this needs to be just a whole scene. And they have the instrumental part and it just keeps playing. And as they're walking around, she shows him the castle. And it says, legend has it. She says, legend, this is the castle of Shohashi. They used to do the Oban dance there, but of course, Sato owns it now and he's selling it off piece by piece. So we have to do it in the village. And she says, legend has it, if you race up to the castle and win, your wish will come true. And I say, no need for that, Kumiko, because the second she says that and they start running, like a knight in shining armor from a long time ago. And I'm like, Peter Cetera already made my wish come true because he made the best fucking song ever. And this music cue
what a
is
god awful line.
unbelievable.
Like a knight in shining armor from a long time ago. Like, all right, cool, good job, great.
Okay, what do you want? What do you want, Kevin? Well, Mr.
I don't
Miyagi,
know.
what do you want? Like a knight in shining armor from 2 years ago?
It's so funny because for years you've been singing it and I've never listened to it before.
Yeah,
like, I know the
Kevin.
tone.
Kevin,
I know what you
Like-
mean, Kevin.
Kevin, he is clearly the knight in shining
He's the knight
armor
in shining
from
armor.
No,
a long
I get
time
all,
ago.
I get all
Yeah.
the connections.
Actually, I would actually say Miyagi is probably all about that. And I would actually say this song is more about Miyagi than anything else because this is mostly Miyagi's story.
True.
Daniel's just sort of
Which
along
I
for the ride
loved.
on this.
I appreciated that.
It's very good. Yeah, it is
I-
about love and it's about the glory of love and it's about the fact that he stayed in love with this person for so long and after 40 years came back and is there and is kind of the savior of their village too.
I expect
I
that
don't
in the
wanna keep-
future. I expect that in the future, whenever we have disagreements company wise, when there are plans going wrong, and if Tim or Greg want us to do something and Nick doesn't want to do it, and we go, Nick, you have to do this. And he goes, oh, what do you mean, Miss Miyagi? I mean, I'm just trying. Like, I expect Nick to go, like, for that to be his defense mechanism.
Dude, I'm gonna be
Done.
honest.
Dude,
Nick's
roll that.
Daniel LaRusso impression might be my favorite thing he's done in 2020. Like it brings me pure joy.
It took him
It's
the whole year,
great.
but he got there. Let not to beat a dead dual-sided drum here, but let's just say you were in the recording studio the day that
No,
Cetera
fuck
first
you.
laid that track down. Okay. And he said, like a knight in shining armor from a long time ago. The guy stops the recording right there. He's like, hold on, Pete.
Are you trying to tell me?
Are you? You know what? I'm not even. All right.
Don't even
keep
ask.
going.
Just let it
Well,
go. Yeah.
according to Kevin, the line would be better if it was like a knight in shining armor from 4 days ago. Jesus Christ, from 1984. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Hey, Mr. Miyagi, when the knights were around, was it cool? And he's like, get off the fucking podium. Let's
Nick,
keep on with the story.
I don't think Kevin's issue with the lyric is the place and time of which the night took place.
It's just a stupid line.
I don't think his issue is the setting.
You don't think it's that? You don't think it's the imagery behind it?
I'm gonna get Kevin a poster of just a knight in shining armor, and then on the bottom it's just gonna say from a long time ago. You better hang it.
Oh,
next to your desk.
man.
Josh, someone right now is photoshopping Kevin's face onto that poster, and it's
Yep.
and they're making it. Let's go, Ben. Please be excited. Get
Totally.
your shit
Yeah.
together. Kumiko, of course, tells Daniel her dream in life as they go around town again exploring this cool little town. The downtown area is to be a dancer, and then the guy who perfected cloning in Jurassic Park invites them to a dance. Of course, shout out to BD Wong, who's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, Daniel spots Sato's gym. Is like, yo, I gotta hold on a sec. Let me drop by the gym for a second. Gotta look in. And he looks in, and Chosen is just fucking murdering 3 of his students. And at this point, I'd be like, I should just leave Japan. Like, I gotta go.
Did you guys notice that every student was just a white dude?
Were they?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
I
I-
mean,
well,
he mentioned that. Or
So-
she mentioned that they are there learning abroad or
because
whatever.
they're GIs. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's one thing they don't
Military
say a
base.
lot of, and I didn't realize until I looked up because I was trying to find the actor's name who played there's a bunch of GIs that were like bit actors, but then they went on to do cool stuff. One of which is Clarence Gillier Jr., who was the guy that played Theo in Die Hard. They're all called GIs. So apparently the base is where they, this is where they all those guys party. I digress. You guys get it. Of course, Daniel looks over and sees another cool bar, which apparently is the place, Kevin, that you go if you want to break and ruin all of the fucking bones in your hand. Because this bar is
It's
get
one of
drunk,
those bars
and you
where
see how many blocks of ice you can punch through.
Well, people are making bets. They run out of things, and like, what do bars have? They have ice, right?
Do have ice.
So it's just what they have on hand. This makes perfect sense to me. Also,
PW Unlimited in the chat says they found the karate shop.
They did find the karate shop. And thank you for not letting that slip up
And
go by, you assholes.
in all the bars I've worked at too in my life, is we always carry sheets of ice as
Just sheets
opposed
of
to
ice.
cubes.
Well, you know what's funny though? I thought about
that's
that,
very
right?
hipster thing now, right?
Because
yeah,
Josh,
of
they're
course
easy
it
to
is.
roll up. They're easy to roll up in store. Yeah.
right, exactly.
What
Thanks.
I what I thought they were trying to do was say that this town was slightly stuck in that period because they had that period
Of the
dance as
50s,
well,
yeah.
and a lot of the stuff. Because I think they were trying to say this small village never really it's having a hard time, progressing like the rest of Japan. So they have these he goes, hey, I got to go into town. There's one shop where it can he makes mention there's one little shop that sells this one component that's gonna, all that stuff. Anyway, not great, but I think that was the whole point of having the ice blocks there, because they were like, oh, we're in the 50s still. Of course, he's talking
Ice
Daniel,
blocks big in the
just
50s, guys.
zero.
Ice blocks. When I think of the
Zero.
50s,
Well,
I
they were
think
right
of
because
ice
they
blocks.
didn't have ice makers in the 40s and 50s. You had to get giant blocks of ice and you'd have to chip them out yourself. That's where ice picks come from, and that's why when I watch that scene in Basic Instinct, it's even hotter. Of course, Daniel not monitoring the volume of his voice at all, just talking shit about the guy standing 2 feet away from him. He's like, oh, he's not. Hey, this guy doesn't understand. You got to use your hip. You got to put your hip into it. Hey, and your back. And the guy's like, you fucking think you're so good, dude? Why don't you try this? And then, of course, Chosen materializes out of thin air. And
Always.
goes, no, he's going to do this. I got $600 on him. And he's like, dude, I fucking paid my whole college tuition to come here. I don't have $600. And of course, Miyagi's like, well, I got $600. What are the odds on him? And Chosen's like, it's 3-1. And Kevin, if my math is correct, that means that Daniel stands to win $100,000. And so Sato comes in and is like, I'll stake you. The stakes are high. And then he goes, no, you're not going to crush 3 blocks of ice, Josh. You're going to crush. You won the All Valley. We know who you are, Daniel Russo. You won the All Valley Championship back in Reseda, California. You're coming here. You got to do 6 blocks of ice.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Sato and Chosen, Sato's
I
showing
love
up
this scene so
for
much.
this scene
Awesome.
is, again, we talk about Chosen showing up all the time is really over the top and ridiculous. But the fact that Sato also shows up here and then Miyagi shows up, it really does remind me of one of my favorite episodes of South Park where they are at a snowboarding lodge and they're just there visiting, and the guy who the cool guy of the snowboarding town is like, oh yeah, Stan, he calls Stan Marsh Stan Darsh or something. He's like, oh, Darsh wants to race down the hill, and Stan Marsh is like, no, I don't even know you. Why do I want to race it? He's like, oh, it looks like someone's a chicken, and all these he becomes the bully and super over the top. That's what these guys remind me of. They just show up
But
and
I mean, here's the
make
thing.
conflict because they're bored or something.
Word on the street
Andy,
is LaRusso's
revenge.
gonna break some ice.
Yeah.
Revenge is a bigger deal here. They explain that very thoroughly.
It's true.
Also,
I
they're
know.
in the heart of
Daniel has
downtown. Everyone's around. This,
But it's
at
interesting
the
because
bar, right?
Yeah, this is the bar where you get revenge. Kevin's 100% right. You
This is the-
bet-
yeah,
you-
this-
you-
yeah,
you,
I
you
just-
drink snake venom and you get revenge.
They were
I got
probably
my,
already.
I got my part to fix the refrigerator. Better stop by the local bar to see if they're still breaking ice. Oh, Daniel, son. Oh, Chosen. Oh, Sato.
the gang's all here.
The
And
gang's
Mr.
all
Miyagi
here.
coming in and putting the money on LaRusso, it was the fucking coolest thing.
So
It's
cool.
all of it is so
Also,
dumb.
the girl
but
goes
this
to
scene
get Mr.
was such
Miyagi.
a perfect example of this movie.
The girl goes to get Mr. Miyagi. She's remember they figure
'cause she
out. Oh,
said the
she's like,
shop was,
oh, that
closed.
store is right next door.
Yeah. Of course, Daniel's like, hey, Mr. Miyagi, I don't know if I can break 1 sheet of ice, let alone 17 sheets of ice. And Miyagi's like, hey, remember that lesson we talked about back in Reseda about focusing? That's where this comes into play now. And Daniel was like, cool, I got this. Takes the position, breathes in, meditates, and then demolishes all 6 blocks of ice with like a nice like blade hand chop, just boss, and they just explode too. And I love that effect. He's just like,
Jamie
"Yeah, he's
Lannister
doing this
blade
shit."
hand.
Bah, done. And then he's like, man, Mr. Miyagi, what are you going to spend all your money on? And he's like, well, I'm going to take a little bit of money for myself because Mr. Miyagi's got to have some fucking fun later.
Yeah.
And then you're going to spend the rest of that money on your college tuition. And I'm like, fuck yeah,
Hey.
dude. Fuck yeah.
Hey.
Let's see. Important character moment here too. Chosen's like, we don't honor bets with cowards. And then Saito's like, no, give him the money. Like he did it.
Don't embarrass me. That was cool.
Don't embarrass me.
Chosen, quit making up rules, you jagwagon.
Let's see. The next day, Chosen shows up to take Miyagi once again to the fight, but Miyagi says, nope, I'm not going. So they ruin his garden. He goes to visit Sato to make peace, but Sato would literally rather punch wood and break his hand than concede to his friendship with Miyagi. Later, they go to
Wait,
a 50s
hold on.
inspired
We have that
dance.
moment too where Miyagi's like, is this the same wood from the beach? And it's like, oh, it means so much. But also Miyagi being like, huh, you couldn't break this, huh?
I'll
Yeah?
break that motherfucker.
But no, but
Yeah.
also just like a good little foreshadowing, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe there
Oh,
will
it's
be
great.
maybe we'll be chopping wood later in
At the
movie.
beach, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's so poetic.
But it's important that he breaks the wood, thus severing that tie that Sato has to that grudge. And
Breaking it
very-
open. Or the fact that Sato's entire dojo is built on a pyramid scheme of tree breaking when he really can't break any wood
You
at
can't
all.
break a tree, bro. Chosen to break some shit off though. They go to I think I assume Kevin. I said it was 50s. I assume this was like a 50s inspired dance, right? I don't know. Why
It
I
looked
thought
like
50s.
it.
was
That's
like
what I
one-
thought too.
yeah.
There was a
There's a
lot
bunch of
of
pictures of
swing
Elvis.
dancing. Elvis
Yeah,
all over
so
the
they're
place.
doing that.
And like
and
not
then-
fat Elvis, young Elvis.
Oh, good Elvis. Yeah, that
Yeah.
wasn't Elvis was fun.
Not peanut
Of
butter
course,
loving sandwich Elvis.
Kumiko asks Daniel if he'd like to dance, and Daniel goes, "Would I? Gee willikers, I love dancing." And she goes, "Wow, you're a really good dancer. Where did you learn to dance?" And if anyone ever asks you that question, boys and girls out there, and your mom taught you to dance, just say, "My mom taught me to dance." Do not respond with, "I used to be my mom's dance partner for years." Just
It
don't.
is weird.
It's weird.
Is it weird?
Don't say that to people.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's,
the
it's
real-
weird.
The real answer, and Nick knows this, and I'm sure Andy does as well, maybe Tim, probably not Kevin, but when somebody asks where'd you learn how to dance, you say, I learned from Save the Last Dance starring Julia Child. Come on.
Yeah,
Fair point.
exactly.
Fair point.
I don't know. yeah.
Of course, Chosen once again just comes in, just like there's only 4 places in this town, so when we want to go looking for trouble, we just go to all 4 of them until we find LaRusso, and interrupts them, and they just beat his ass and
Wait,
take his money.
first off, did you
Another
say Julia
dance.
Child? Did you say Julia Child at first?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He
I
meant
meant
Julia
Julia
Stiles.
Cook
but it's
lady?
okay. Yeah.
I was like, Julia Child Styles. Yeah, I tried to
Anyone can cook.
Call me
No,
out.
that was
Yeah,
Ratatouille. I'm sorry. Of course, Chosen comes in, but then Daniel remembers another important lesson that Miyagi taught him is that when you're on your knees, the best place to get up from your knees is by socking
Hit him
someone
in the
straight in
balls.
the nutsack.
Yeah.
So, man, he hits him so hard that I actually felt it this
Nutshot.
time. And then they run out off into the night. Sato shows up again to challenge Miyagi, this time with a spear. But when they realize he's not there, they rip up the family dojo instead. And then, of course, Psycho bounces, and Daniel finds them. And he's like, man, you guys got to stop. And they're like, no, we're going to kick your ass instead. And so they start kicking his ass. But then Miyagi returns and just starts punching them all in the ball sack. Everyone, you
Andy
get a ball
Cortez.
sack punch, and you get a ball sack punch.
Andy
Real
Cortez
quick,
from Kinda
real
Funny.
quick. That the obviously the first ball sack punch,
Yeah.
is referencing when Miyagi was fucking around and joking around with Daniel-san. But like when Miyagi did that, it felt really out of character. And so Daniel-san doing it to Chosen, I'm like, we didn't need the Miyagi scene to
here's
show
the
us
thing.
that Daniel-san knows how to punch somebody in the nuts. Like, he could have just done it, and I would have been like, "Oh yeah, good
been okay
defense,"
with
because
that.
your girlfriend's being choked and they're threatening to kidnap your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
said, we're gonna take her with us.
Yeah.
So like, if you're in that down position, go ahead and punch him in the nuts. I don't need a scene.
You don't need a
40
rationale.
minutes. I don't need to see 40 minutes prior showing like, oh, this is from earlier when Miyagi showed him how to punch people in the nuts. Like,
But-
I didn't need that.
Andy, the nut punching is a big Miyagi-san move. Like he did it multiple times. Like in the recap they show of the last movie, they show the fight scene where he jumps over the fence. His go-to move nut punches both those guys,
two
then
nut
nut
punches.
punches
The
another
double nut
dude,
punch.
then nut punches another guy. His go-to
slap
move
is
is
my
the, is the yeah, dick slapping his Nick's
No. But what I'm saying is the initial like teaching of it was the dropping of the fucking rag, and then
Yeah.
Miyagi picking up the rag and then doing it, and that's the same.
What I'm saying is it's a fundamental move. I'm glad we
It's
saw.
analogous. It's
great move.
analogous to him dropping the wallet and him going to pick it up, and like we didn't need the first teaching of it.
Look,
we could be
when
fine
we
with
learned that the blocking was the car wash thing, like, you know, I like seeing where these things come from. The drum, like, it all makes sense. Now I know. Oh, you pick up the rag, hit him in the nuts.
that. It's just such a weird thing. And then what for our next lesson, Daniel-san, is the car crash technique. All right. So what you do is you crash a car, and then that'll teach you to do something. Like not everything has to be a lesson, you know.
Okay, but Andy, look, we love the character development. We love Miyagi and Daniel getting to know each other and stuff. When these punks started ripping up the dojo, what'd that do to your heart?
I felt pissed. Like,
Yeah.
And that's
I
another one of
did.
those things too. Where I was like, this is definitely not considered honorable behavior for anyone to do. Now, again,
No, but
what do
they're
I know
not
about honor,
honorable.
Annie? I know, but you would think that the whole point of this is like Sato, believes in this grudge. because he
Sato was
believes he's
mad.
been
He never
dishonored.
got married. Like, we didn't see Sato's kid because he never had one. He never moved forward in life. She never moved forward in life. Weirdly, Miyagi, he did. But like, what? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, he definitely did, and we're not going to talk about that because he has like he's got a whole life in California and a cool house. But it's one of those things where you're like they're trying to make you believe that nobody's reacting negatively to this stuff in this town because of A, Sato's stature, which makes sense, but also B, that he is right in feeling dishonored. But he does all of these horrible things because of that, which, by the way, destroying someone's house because of a grudge is way worse than like somebody trying to marry the woman that you loved because she didn't want to marry you. Does that make sense?
Still under murder, but that's what
Andy,
they want to
kind
do.
of funny.
You
I
can
do
replace
really wanna bring up-
houses. You can't
I-
replace love, Nick.
great point, Josh.
Sato
I do really
never
want to
did.
bring up this comment in chat from Parker PPH, where Daniel asked Miyagi if he could ever break a log, and Miyagi said, "I don't know. I never fought a tree."
Yeah.
And
Such
I
a
fucking
good
love
line.
that.
That's
And
such
it's
a good
obviously
line.
like, we
Genius
see the log breaking at the end, but that was sort of like setting up that he's known for kind of being this celebrity karate guy that can break a log. But I loved that line. And there's several lines of that. Is that an ancient story? No, it's a recent one. How recent? 10 minutes ago. Like I love that back and forth. They're so
That's
good.
great.
There was also
good.
right before he breaks the ice, where he was like, "Well, what are you gonna do? Pray?" Like that's yeah.
Yeah.
The next day, of course, Miyagi's like, yo, I got to go. This is just ramping up and it's going to cause nothing but badness. So he has to say, again, goodbye to Yukie again. And it's really sad. Kumiko and Daniel have a very touching scene where he invites her to the States to go to dance school and pretty much admits that he's just fallen madly in love with her. And then they're about to kiss when a Sato bulldozer comes into town and starts digging up everything. And he was like, basically, if you don't fight me, Miyagi, I'm going to just bulldoze this whole town. And Miyagi's like, fine, you win. I'll fight you under one condition. No matter who wins, the title to the land passes to the village forever. And he goes, well, I don't know about that. That seems like a lot. And he goes, small price to pay for your honor. And he goes, you know what? You're right. The fight is on here tonight, midnight. Be there or be square. And he's like, I'll fucking be there. And of course, seems like threatening to destroy the livelihoods of an entire village of people to save your honor will accomplish the complete opposite. But again, Tim, the only thing I know about honor is to blame you for everything that I don't want to take responsibility for.
I totally understand that.
I might not be the right person to be talking on this subject. Miyagi gives Daniel his will and tells him that he's already won because no matter what happens, quote, the village is safe forever. Daniel heads over to Kumiko's place where he gets, when he gets there, she has prepared that same tea ceremony that Miyagi and we saw Miyagi and Yukie do, which means that, her feelings are being reciprocated for him and they're falling in love. And it's very, very touching.
It's hot,
and,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and when they go to kiss, they're interrupted by a weird lamp that the production designer decided to hang right in front of their faces. Which, if I were the director, I'd be like, we need to strike that because this is a perfectly framed scene against the backdrop of this village, and our two main characters are finally about to kiss, and there's a fucking lamp hanging in front of them. But I digress. That's me nitpicking again. I will move on. We're not going to have Tim. We're not going to have another repeat of
The Dark Knight
debacle. We're not gonna
especially
do
not
it.
during the Karate Kid Part 2. No, we just can't
Absolutely
do it.
not. It's not worth it. It's not worth the heat, as they say. Of course, no, it gets interrupted by a gust of wind, and there is a massive tornado happening outside, or excuse me, what is a typhoon happening outside?
Typhoon.
As they're running around trying to find a place to run into, or excuse me, a place to get out of the storm, they spot people in aid and help and run out. They go out to help them. Miyagi spots a house where Sato was in, and he's like, Sato's in the house, and then it collapses around him. They run to help, and as they do, Chosen runs for his life, and he's like, dude, my uncle is dead. Every man for themselves. Get out of there. And Miyagi's like, he's not dead. We can see him right there when he's moving. Chosen's like, I heard it both ways. He's fucking dead. Daniel's like, yo, Mr. Miyagi, should we go help him? I don't know. There's water everywhere. And then they go over, and what do they find? Of course, Sato is trapped under yet another plank of wood. And Andy, what does he say? He says, Master Wayne, what is the point of all those bloody push-ups if you can't even push a log off you? And Sato's like, who are you talking to? I'm Sato. And then
this is such a Dragon Ball Z Vegeta moment where they walk up to go help him, and he's like, "Oh, here's where you're coming to kick my ass." And now, when I'm in this state,
it's so
that's
good.
so dishonorable of you, and I love that. I just
it's a good moment.
This moment is like Sato and the writers committing to Sato being all about and only about being a villain. Like,
Hell yeah.
despite what's happening around him, he is a villain no matter what, and it's very much a Vegeta, like even Bakugo from My Hero Academia.
I was
But
thinking
That's
about
my anime references.
But it's also like the moment where you like see him be like, "Oh wait, no, I'm wrong." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's so perfect. I
But
loved
like,
it.
but can you imagine Miyagi walking up and like, bam, bitch, like piecing out, like
You're dead. You're
cracking
dead.
his skull open with the hand and being like, I won. Give me the deed. I get the girl. I get everything. It's great.
I do enjoy that when he chops it, he basically like breaks Sato's sternum by breaking the log in
Yeah,
half.
definitely.
Yeah.
No,
Pretty
have you
tough.
seen the videos?
I
You
love
put a
it,
watermelon on someone's chest, you can break it without hurting them. Easy, no
Yeah.
problem.
Some triple
Sorry,
movie's
I have not
fucking
watched
awesome.
enough of those, Kev. That's my bad.
And then, of course, as they run in, Daniel looks out and he sees that the young girl who was tasked with climbing the ladder and ringing the bell to warn the entire village is stuck up there. Timeout called by Josh. Everyone, timeout.
Okay. So
Andy runs-
this
rings
girl has been warning the whole village that the storm is coming. She knows the storm is coming.
Yeah.
How has she not come down from the bell yet?
Well, because she wanted to make sure she kept ringing the bell until everyone heard it was last minute. And also, my theory, Josh, is that she was so busy thinking about how stupid Daniel looked dancing that she just lost all track of time.
I really feel like a solution would have been a longer string for the bell.
Yeah.
Or
I also
just
feel
put
like
the bell
an
on the
adult
ground.
up there and not a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but they're
That's
littler and better at climbing.
They
Like
climb
that's
faster.
well known.
less weight.
Okay, now we're starting to get into like child labor laws here, Kevin.
It's an emergency. She wasn't getting paid, I guarantee you.
Oh, their hands are so little they can get the electronics into your calculator, you friggin' creep.
Of course, Sato orders Chosen to go out and help Daniel, but Chosen recedes into the background, proving that he is in fact a coward.
Yeah.
Daniel saves the day, but he can't quite get the girl back in to safety. So Sato runs out. Miyagi is going to go first, and Sato goes, "No, let me go," which is good, and then just has zero trouble picking this girl up.
Yeah.
Daniel, let's lift a weight here when we get back to the States. That would be the thing that I learned about this.
A 65-year-old, 70-year-old man just outlifted
Just
you.
picked her
in
up. I mean,
mud.
we're talking about like a 50-pound girl here.
Yeah,
Daniel, come on.
come
You can't
on,
lift that
Daniel,
shit.
son.
You're not going to win this fight to the death that Kevin's so hyped about at the end of this.
Yeah.
And then when he gets back in, man, having learned nothing from the last 10 minutes of not creating grudges and holding them and creating enemies, he looks at Chosen and he says, "Now you are dead to me," which is like, why? Why don't you just we're going to talk about this
He
tomorrow.
left him for dead. What do you mean?
Fuck that. Chosen, dead to me. I totally get it. I mean,
Yeah, any of you assholes leave me for dead anywhere, I'll find you.
I'm sorry. The correct quote, and I'm sure the chat is livid because I got this wrong, is he says, "Now to you, I am dead," which means
Yeah,
I'm
it's
still
even
alive,
cooler.
but that's even cooler. That was
Just
cool.
a different way of saying the same thing, but also is like, hey, with the next generation of youths here in Japan, let's try and be better and not always challenge people to death fights based solely on the love of an 18-year-old girl who may or may not want you based off an arranged marriage. But instead, in front of the whole village, inside a tiny bunker, including creepy mustache adult man who was clearly driving a cab, hey, listen, I know you were a little scared, Chosen. Let's figure this out. I don't want to ruin the rest of your life, turn you into a accused gangster, because now the only person that
He
was
was
a father
already on that
figure to you
route.
is dead to you now.
Andy,
was already
I
on
have a
that
question
route.
for you. Andy, do you think there's a deleted scene where after, like, right as that goes and he's like, now to you, I am dead, right before Coward runs out, the guy comes back and he's like, this is a really nice bunker you guys have here. Can I bring my wife over here?
No. Freddie
She's in the
definitely comes in
States.
and be like, I don't got a dad.
And they're like, shut up, Freddie. We hated you in the first movie. Of course, the next morning, Sato has
Daniel, son, I came over with my family to Okinawa. Can't believe you're here. I found Toomey Village. It was right
Crazy,
next to
man.
the airbase
Hey,
the whole time.
hey, by the way, man, you're out of milk back at your house, and I used all your toilet paper. So sorry about that.
Oh, by the way, Allie dumped the dude from UCLA, so she's available if after this movie you
available,
want to
bro.
go back.
She's available. Sato arrives the next morning with a caravan of trucks to help rebuild the village, and he gives
It's pretty cool.
Mr. Miyagi the deed of the village and says, I've been a dickhead. I would like your forgiveness. And Miyagi, of course, and replies, nothing to forgive. We all know he's lying.
Dope.
You've been a complete asshole for the last 4 days, and honestly, the last
But
3
he's
years.
saying they're cool again, you know?
They're cool. Let's see Miyagi being the better man, of course. Daniel asks Sato if he can, for a favor. He's like, yo, I never pushed my luck lately, but like, since we're riding high on this, can we have the Oban dance in the castle since the village has been destroyed? And also, it used to be in the castle, like traditionally anyway. And of course, Sato is like, he graciously agrees under the condition that Daniel dance with them and that all the little kids be able to make fun of Daniel one last time for his enjoyment. The next night, they do the Oban dance back where it belongs traditionally in the castle. And I'm not gonna lie, Kev, this shit looks fun. This looks like a fun party that I would like to go to. And then
Now, I
Kumiko
thought that
does
originally. But then I was like, if it looks like everyone has to do this dance, and some of them don't look like they're enjoying it.
they don't want to,
Yeah.
and then but Kumiko does an amazing solo that brings the house down. But also, you have to imagine, Kevin, and I don't know if this is the way it's supposed to go or not, but this is how I read it, Andy, is that after all the dancing is done, there's a fight to the death, and that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
That's always a closing ceremony sort of thing.
yeah. Some two people have to fight each other,
Yeah.
and of course,
Can you imagine? And then all of a sudden, at the end of the fight, the other dude honks the dude's nose instead of murdering him.
yeah.
Like, I came for the murdering, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'd like my
Disappointing.
ticket money back, please.
Yeah.
I didn't
Chosen
learn the
of-
moon dance for no murders.
Chosen, of course, right as Kumiko is in her solo bringing the house down, Chosen zip lines in and then takes Kumiko hostage. Sato pleads with him to stop, and he's like, I was wrong, no more hate, I shouldn't have said that thing to you, that was my bad. But Chosen's like, nope, it's too late, I've gone off the deep end. Daniel, of course, doesn't hesitate. He crosses the tiny bridge separating him from the rest of the village, and then Chosen's like, now drop the bridge. And there's a moment, literally a moment in Daniel's face, and maybe I'm just reading too far into this, Tim, where he just looks at the bridge and he's like, really? Like, that's not gonna okay, I guess I'll do it, but it seems like a waste of energy. And then it's like this little tiny bridge that, again, Ralph Macchio, no disrespect, lift the fucking weight occasionally. He tries to lift it, he can barely get it an inch off the ground, and then just kind of like tumbles it over into the moat below. And we
It
got to
is
work on
pretty
your
hard.
strength
I can
training when
relate,
we get
man.
back to Reseda.
Nick, really quick, I just want you to remind you that, like, strength, it's not right here, okay? It's in here. It's in here, okay?
Tim is
Well
in here.
said.
Audio listeners, he pointed to his head.
They get it on. They start fighting, and Chosen easily just beats his ass and takes him down. Kumiko tries to intervene, but then Chosen, like an asshole, knocks her out. Daniel, and when I was a kid, this blew my mind because he starts doing the crane technique, and I was like, oh shit, end game, right?
Yeah.
And then and Chosen's like, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit crane technique.
So cool.
Just makes
But,
him
like,
look
Clearly,
super
he didn't do it
stupid.
right.
Yeah, he didn't do it right, right?
he can't do defense.
I have to imagine so. I mean, Daniel's probably pretty frazzled because this is, of course, a fight to the death. This ain't just for a trophy at All Valley Championship. This is like your life. It's life or death. And then
I would have loved for like maybe that to have been saved for a moment where LaRusso is really cocky and confident in his abilities, and Miyagi is kind of like, man, I don't really like what's happening to LaRusso. You're getting like, you know, obviously he was signing all the autographs in the beginning, right? And like,
of course.
I would have loved for this level of celebrity to go to his head, and then he tries the crane kick again to finish a dude off, and then, you know, he whiffs and he fucks it up, and then they're like, yeah, it's because you're not in the right headspace. Yeah, you're all cocky now. But it was saved for like a better fighter. It was saved for this moment, and it was just like, oh, this guy's just kind of a better fighter. which
Yeah.
kind of sucks because it's like I don't know.
It
There was
really
no
made me
reason for
question
him not to do it right.
Yeah.
There.
It made me question everything, Andy.
Yeah.
You don't
of course,
think
seeing
that,
no other option.
they further developed out, like because the school has been doing his father's fighting techniques, like they've developed a defense for it?
Oh,
That's
for
what I
sure.
was
Like
thinking
that's
it
what I
was.
read is that it's the
Yeah.
same karate. So Chosen would have seen that, and be like, I know the fucking crane technique. Get out
But
of here.
like I feel like
Got it.
the secret drum technique was not taught to anyone
yeah.
else. Yeah,
Well, clearly
Chosen.
it wasn't because that cannery hadn't been used in years. And so, of
Yeah.
course, Miyagi, seeing no other option, pulls his drum out. I personally would have been like, can you jump across the fucking moat and help me? Because I'm getting my ass beat. But the entire town soon follows suit and everyone's got their cool drum. And when I was a kid, I had one of these and I fucking loved it. And I would just redo the scene over and over again and pretend like I was Daniel Russo.
Wait,
And of
but
course,
he didn't have a drum, so it's like he was the
no, I
one
would be Mr.
person
Miyagi
without.
first, Kevin.
Got it.
Kevin,
got
I'd be
it.
Mr. Miyagi first, and then I put it down, and I would run over to the other side of the room, and I would be like, "Hey, Mr. Miyagi, what's going on with that beat? Dope." And then, of course, Daniel gets the hint, and he's like, "I got to use the drum technique," which I really didn't learn very well, but I was kind of practicing for 5 minutes on that bridge, and those kids are making fun of me.
Yeah,
so
you all
let's
saw
just do
enough of it.
right now. You fucking get it. Chosen comes out at one more time, and Daniel just lays a brutal salvo of blows on Chosen's face.
A
and just
barrage, if you
counter-strikes
will,
every
Nicholas. A
single
barrage.
strike. A barrage. Chosen falls to his knees, defeated. Daniel asks him, "Live or die, man. Come on." And Chosen's like, "Die." And Daniel's like, oh, wrong. And then goes, honk. Again, thus ensuring
Can you
that
imagine?
Chosen will have a grudge against him for fucking ever for
Forever.
humiliating him.
Hey,
Yeah.
this was one of those moments when he honked him. I was just like, this is so stupid. This is a callback that did not need to happen. Yet I was sitting there like,
He embarrassed the shit out of
I
him. There's
fucking
no.
love this movie.
It fucking sucked.
Oh come on, Andy. This is great. Although
And of
He
course-
lost his nose. The lack of violence is what this is all about. Defense is what
'Cause I'll tell-
is
'cause I-
offense.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I'm sort of predisposed to not liking this moment because I didn't love the shoulder tap "Hey" in Spider-Man Spider-Verse, like that being the callback and the "Hey" and shocking to Ed to win the final fight. I didn't love that either, and this is like markedly fucking astronomically worse, cosmically worse than that. And
Damn,
so when
Andy.
when that moment happened, I was like, "Oh man, this sucks, dude." And the movie ended with, we didn't exactly get the Miyagi.
No,
kinda
we
got-
absolutely did. So of course, Daniel runs to Kumiko's side, embraces her as Miyagi sort of nods like, "You did good this time. You did good." And at first, Andy, I was with you. I was like, well, "That was a good nod, but it wasn't a great nod." And this movie seems again to just completely end to,
cuts?
"Oh wait, what's that? What's that, Josh McCuca?" When you've got the greatest power ballad ever fucking made, do you just use it one time in a movie, Tim?
This has been my biggest gripe of this movie this entire time. Is they
Use it
still
for
end
every
on a
song.
Miyagi wink smile like everybody's it's like that, and they don't play Satara from the beginning through the credits. They don't do it.
No, they do. It starts off with the glory of love.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm alluding to. They play it. They play this. You're thinking the first one. See, which I thought the first one ended with this song. This one ends and they kick it up again and they just play it from the beginning.
do it.
And I'm all right with
Yeah, because
that.
it's the wink leading into
Yeah.
Yeah.
Power of Love or
Tonight,
whatever.
it's not Power of Love, which I say all the
Whatever.
time and I'm corrected.
No,
which again,
Glory.
another great song, maybe second best power ballad ever made. Not really a power ballad.
Well, that's not really a power ballad.
It's a rock song.
That's a good 80s pop song. But
You'll love to
you
see it.
here's the thing is both of these movies, and I don't understand what
pee.
Adelson's thinking about, is why don't we have a sick post-credit scene with that song? Like, why aren't we getting these post-credit scenes of like Daniel's son and Kumiko on the beach, like walking like
and then like Miyagi like kind of like watching them and being like
Yeah.
just kind of like in maybe he's with his homegirl that he
with
was supposed to be.
Yuki.
7
Yeah.
syllables in the middle. You'll need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
You can go to patreon.com/kindafunny, just like so many of you did, to write your reviews in haiku form. Liz Lawson says, let's head to Japan. Where the boys fight for honor, the drum technique wins. Never underestimate the drum technique, Andy.
Never.
Never. Futon says, dude, don't honk my nose. I'd rather you just killed me. This is so much worse. And Blackjack says, Crane kick defended. Chosen never relented. Future cemented. Blackjack, keep
Very
it
good.
up. Keep it up.
Very
You're
good,
you're on a
Blackjack.
good track, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say
Thank you
about
for all of
Karate
our
Kid,
high cues,
period.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you all. Now it's time for Ragu Bagu, which will be difficult without Nick.
Ragu.
Ragu. Bagu. What's up, guys? Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys, aka Ragu Bagu. I'm Tim Gaze. We got Josh McCouga, Andy Cortez, Kevin Coelho, and soon to be Nick Scarpino. Scarpino.
Let's start calling him that.
Coming around here with Scaputo. I don't know.
We're gonna rank the bad guys in the Karate Kid Cobra Kai cinematic universe. Right now, at number 1, we have Johnny Lawrence and Kreese. Where do we put, obviously, Chosen and Sato?
Well, you have to put like 75% of Sato, right? Because then the third act, or like 85%, I guess, because then the third act, he's good Sato.
Oh yeah, sure. That happens quite a bit in these movies. I would put them number 2.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's an easy answer there.
Oh, I thought it'd be number 1.
Really?
I mean, Chosen does put a knife to a girl's throat,
and it's to the death.
And it's to the death, and he kicks the crap out of LaRusso.
Well, what you need to understand
multiple times.
Okay stuff, but really and truly, it's Chosen.
Yeah, but Makuga, Ragu Bagu isn't about who's the most evil or who's the most bad. It's just the quality of villain, right? Motives, acting, moments. Chosen just always shows. Chosen always shows up, and he's pissed. That's kind of all it is. Kevin, I do kind of agree with you. I think Sato and the whole revenge angle, great. But obviously, I would have loved Chosen to be more than just a one-dimensional. I'm pissed off. I'm going to bully you every time I see you.
He is more than one-dimensional, but those dimensions are like he's on his route to become like a gangster. Like he's literally defrauding, the little scale thing they got going on, and like I don't know if this helps. Because he's lost all his power, right? At the end of it, like, is he still down that path of becoming a gangster?
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, like, look,
no one respects him, right?
I think he's gonna become a murderer now.
You don't think he's just gonna become an alcoholic, like just chill, like maybe a homeless person?
Yeah, it's not a good path. Let's put it this way. He didn't learn his lesson at the end, like Sato did.
Anyways, I feel like because the stakes are so high, because death was literally, what was going to happen if he didn't win the fight. I don't know. I feel like on both ends too. Miyagi too.
If Chosen appears in Cobra Kai season 3, holy shit.
Spoilers, though. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know.
Let's not say any stuff.
Well, we haven't seen Cobra Kai season 3.
No, but I don't even want.
I know. I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't want speculations. No speculations, no anything like that.
We don't even know if anyone comes back for it.
I would still put them number 2 only because there's the tiny moment of Kreese telling Johnny Silverhand, what's his name? Murder?
Yep, Johnny Silverhand.
Johnny Lawrence. There's that moment of him going, sweep the leg. And there's that tiny moment of him going, Sensei, like, for real?
I can beat this guy.
Yeah, like, I love that little moment of, like...
You have a problem with that, Mr. Lawrence?
That's going a little too far, bro. And then, there's still that level of dimensionality to Johnny Lawrence that Chosen just completely lacks.
But here's the thing.
I would have loved a scene of like this is gonna sound so stupid, but like Magneto and Charles Xavier. I would have loved a scene of them just talking to each other and it not being this antagonistic, I'm gonna bully you until you fight thing. You're such a coward. Again, Makuga said that they said the word coward at least 944 times in this movie. Man. Like, it doesn't have to be that. Like, we could slow it down and have some scenes of good dialogue between.
Andy, he called him a coward so much because he was a coward.
Yeah, he was.
You think about that?
It's like how I call Kevin cool so much because I'm secretly cool.
And we're gonna move on with that statement to end.
So Johnny Lawrence number 1. He's number 1.
Johnny Lawrence and Kreese number 1. Chosen Sato number 2. Now it's time to rank the Karate Kid cinematic universe. Currently, number 1 is Karate Kid. I'm just gonna start it off. I feel like we obviously Karate Kid 2 is gonna go on a Karate Kid 1, but I do want to make the argument that I think it's closer than most people would give it credit for. Because Karate Kid 1, as a standalone movie, obviously it's great. Sequels it's much harder for them to be good unless they're like dramatically better. And I think that this movie made the wise call of being different and doing some wacky, crazy shit that works. Because if they just tried to have heart again, I don't think it would have worked. And I think that the Karate Kid Part 2 that we got, I am very thankful for, because it set up such a beautiful future for this franchise.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I have been so down on it is because, again, going back to the Fast and Furious comparison, like we do with every franchise we review on here, I am so down for the ridiculousness of Fast and Furious because it's pretty much been that since day one. And so that's why when, people are pulling bank vaults, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I love every second of it. But part one was just not too ridiculous. It was like still, if we're talking about like substance and like kind of like just shitty action movie stuff, it leaned more to the substance side of like,
Definitely.
really good character development and really awesome moments between these people. And so having part two kind of lean away from that, and like you said, Tim, you liked it because they did go the more different route. It's hard for me to be like, fuck yeah, to the ridiculous stuff when part one didn't have a whole lot of that whole ridiculous stuff. Part one had hype moments.
Yeah, but I disagree with you. I think that it actually, part one is fairly ridiculous. It's just in a different way, where it's like, when we look at this All Valley tournament and like how overproduced the whole thing is, like even one had Karate is Life. This is just Karate is Life expanded. And I think that they chose the right things to expand on in the franchise, and it still had the right things. Also include character moments and characters that we enjoy and like. And Mr. Miyagi and Daniel are stronger after this, and I like them better as characters after this one than the first one, which is like a sign of a good sequel.
If in part one,
Karate being life in that little fishing village makes a ton of sense. Like, that dojo is pretty sick. It's real singular. He's only teaching one kind of thing. I don't lean towards 2 as being the better movie, but I think it is a very, very worthy sequel.
If in part one it turned out that Kreese really had a hit on Miyagi because the fucking mafia was after him, and there was some ridiculous element of storytelling in part one, then I would feel a lot more comfortable with part two being about this revenge. I'm going to kill you because of our father stuff. And so that's why I feel
like in part one we had moments where it was like Kreese is such a ridiculous character where it was like, oh, like, are they about to fight? And I'm really happy that we got that in part two. Like, but I think that I felt like the tone was ratcheted up too, especially with the little squad that Lawrence had in part one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that, like the squad of motorcycle kids that are just like this kid is clearly being a piece of shit asshole, and everyone's just like, it's fun. It's cool. Look, he ran over her thing. No one said anything. Like, not even her friends were like, hey man, he ran over your thing. That's really fucked. Everyone's just like moved on. The only person that said something was Danny. Son.
He's not wrong.
Anyway, yeah, number 2 for me. This is number two.
Yeah, no, it's number 2.
Yeah, I would say it's also number 2. I mean, I'm with everyone else, right? I think I give them kudos to him for doing something different. I really do, watching this back as an adult, like that they were like, hey, let's take him out of that environment we all know and throw him over in Japan and have him be a fish out of water there. But I just think that it gets so absurd. Whereas, like, even watching this back, yeah, the original one, yeah, it had absurd elements, but I sort of understood why a kid who was bullied would stay silent about that, and things like this. But at this point, I'd be like, there's no reason why you shouldn't go to the cops. Someone call the FBI or whatever the equivalent is in Japan and get him here, because this guy's fucking doing horrible shit. And it kind of takes away from the story of it. But I do think there are a lot of wonderfully endearing moments, and I think that Ralph Macchio and Tamlin and Tomita have really great chemistry. The two of them. I think the cast is great. And I do like the redemption arc for Sato at the end as well. But I just don't think it's as solid a movie as the first Karate Kid.
Okay. If we're putting up movies with sequels, right, that rarely does a sequel live up to the hype of the first one, right? Like, there's always going to be somewhat of a sophomore slump. You're always going to pick it up. Like, you can look at Empire Strikes Back, okay? You can look at Bad Boys 2, okay? But there aren't many sequels that really equal the first one, especially with the hype machine that was the first Karate Kid. Now, if you're looking at what a teen movie sequel would have done, like in the 90s and early 2000s, is The sequel would have been Daniel LaRusso going to a national karate tournament,
Right,
and
national
being
tournament,
like out of his
losing and then
league,
having
but then
to
somehow,
come back.
right? Like Mighty Ducks 2, all of a sudden some youth hockey team from Minnesota is our entire national team. Like it's not. That's not how it works, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Having him fight again in another tournament is just a terrible, terrible idea, and I'm glad they never did it again.
Right.
Next week, we will return with The Karate Kid Part 3. It's very, very exciting stuff. I can't, or not even next week, on Thursday, 2 days from now.
Yeah, 2 days from
We're
now.
going to be watching Karate Kid 3. Ah!
Tim,
Hell yes.
Tim, I sent
What's
you the
up, Kevin?
description for part 3. Like, do you want to read it just as a little teaser for Andy?
No, that's future spoilers.
Hold on,
Guys,
let
it
me
doesn't.
look at
It
Kid
doesn't
3.
give any information
I'm
other than
down.
it's
I'm-
absurd.
I am absolutely down for Tim to read this ridiculousness for me.
Okay,
Because
you know what?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now I have like my brain is tuned to be like expect the most ridiculous shit, the most outlandish
It's
stuff.
gonna
and
get
I
you
think,
still. It's gonna get you still.
All right, I'm going to read it only because this stuff is revealed within the first moments of the movie
Sure,
starting.
yeah, that's fine,
so
that's
I think
fine.
it's
It's
okay.
ruin it. It's gonna ruin it.
Ostracized villain John Kreese attempts to gain revenge on Daniel and Miyagi with the help of a Vietnam War comrade, the wealthy owner of a toxic waste disposal business.
Sick.
But that's a spoiler, guys.
It is. It is.
That's a really big spoiler, but okay.
Is it a big spoiler?
It's not a
Yeah,
big
because at the
spoiler,
beginning of the movie, you dead.
But all right. Love you guys.
I'm in.
We will return very soon.